My mother has a tattoo just like yours.
No way!
The afternoon sun was melting over the quiet town, painting the diner windows in warm gold, when something powerful broke the silence. Something that made every customer inside lift their head with a mix of fear and curiosity. The roar of motorcycle engines rolled through the streets like thunder approaching from far-off mountains. A moment later, the door creaked open, and 6 Hell's Angels stepped inside. Their boots heavy, their leather vests worn by a lifetime of road dust and rough stories. They didn't enter loudly, but their presence filled every corner of the diner like an unexpected storm. People whispered, forks froze halfway to mouths, and the waitress tried to steady her hands. Nobody knew what these men wanted, only that things always changed when bikers showed up. And right here, right now, a story was about to begin that none of them could have imagined. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, then pause for one moment and like, share, and subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because this story, this moment carries a message that travels far beyond this little town. The Hell's Angels took their seats in the corner booth, speaking in low voices as they ordered their lunch. Outside, their bikes gleamed under the sun like steel wolves resting after a long hunt. Inside, tension softened slowly as the men simply ate quietly, minding their own business. But the aura around them was still heavy. Dark leather, long beards, tattoos, swirling into stories no child should ever approach. And that was exactly why the next moment shocked every soul in the diner into silence. The little bell above the door jingled again. But this time it wasn't a biker. It was a little girl, maybe 6 years old, wearing dusty pink shoes and holding a small paper bag of crayons. Her mother wasn't behind her. She walked alone, her hair tied in a loose ponytail, her face carrying both innocence and a surprising bravery. Nobody understood why she had come in alone. Not yet. The girl scanned the diner with wide, curious eyes. Eyes that shouldn't have held so much recognition, so much memory for someone so small. And then she saw them, the Hell's Angels in the corner. Without hesitation, without fear, she walked toward them. Step after tiny step, her shoes tapping softly against the old diner tiles. Every person in the diner stared in frozen disbelief as this fragile little child crossed the entire room and stood beside the biggest biker among them, a man named Jackson Hale, known for his hard reputation and the iron scars of a past nobody wanted to ask about. Jackson looked down, confused, expecting her to run, scream, or hide. But the little girl simply smiled gently and lifted her hand toward the tattoo on his arm. "Hello, sir," she said softly, her voice warm as sunlight. "My mother has a tattoo just like yours." The entire diner held its breath. Jackson's fork slipped from his hand, clattering against the plate. His brothers looked up sharply, and the little girl, oblivious to the shocks she had just caused, continued staring at the ink on his arm. A winged skull with roses tangled around it. The same design her mother once showed her. Jackson's face changed. A crack in the armor of a man who hadn't let himself feel anything real in a long time. He melted slightly so his eyes were level with hers. His heart beat suddenly heavy, with an emotion he didn't understand. What did you say about your mother?" he asked quietly. The girl's eyes softened. She reached into her crayon bag and pulled out a small folded piece of paper. A drawing. A woman with long hair, a soft smile, and that same tattoo on her shoulder. "She told me it meant she was brave," the girl whispered, "but she got sick. And now she's gone." The words hit Jackson like a punch to the chest. The diner went dead silent again, not out of fear, but out of the sudden, overwhelming sadness that filled the space. Jackson knew that only a few wore it. Only a few survived what it meant. And one of them was Lena Brooks, a woman who had once ridden with the Angels years ago before life forced her into hiding, raising a daughter alone. She had disappeared from the world, from the club, from him, without ever telling him the truth. The truth stood right in front of him now, wearing dusty pink shoes and carrying a drawing her mother helped her make before she died. The girl looked at him, almost pleading. "Do you know what it means when someone has that tattoo?" "Mama never got to tell me more." Jackson's throat tightened, his hands shook. Memories he had buried deep beneath years of anger and regret rose like a tide. Memories of Lena, her laughter, her courage, the night she vanished. And he knew without question what the truth was. This child was Lena's daughter. And he, Jackson, was the man Lena once loved. The shadows of the past crushed him. He felt the weight of years, of mistakes, of a life that never gave him anything except loss. And now, in the middle of a dusty afternoon in a small-town diner, he was staring into the eyes of the little girl who should have been his family all along. Jackson took a long breath. He placed his heavy, scarred hand gently on the table beside her drawing. "It means," he answered slowly, "your mother was stronger than most of us. Stronger than she ever knew. And she wasn't alone. Not then, not now." The girl's eyes shimmered with emotion. And then something happened that shattered Jackson completely. She wrapped her tiny arms around him, holding him with a trust he felt he didn't deserve. But he held her back. and for the first time in years, he closed his eyes and let a tear escape. His brothers watched quietly, their hardened faces softening as the truth slowly unfolded. They understood what had been lost and what could still be saved. Jackson picked her up gently and set her on the seat beside him. She ate fries from his plate, showing him drawings her mother helped her make. And with every small detail she shared, Jackson realized that Lena had kept him alive in her stories, even when life kept them apart. But there was still one question he needed to ask. "Where are you staying?" he asked carefully. The girl hesitated. "I don't really have a home anymore. I just go where I can." Those words were a knife to Jackson's soul. He stood up instantly, all the grief inside him turning into purpose, into a fierce kind of love he never expected to feel again. He looked at his brothers, men who had weathered storms with him, and they nodded without a word. This wasn't a child they would leave behind. She wasn't just another face. She was family. That night, the Hells Angels rode slowly through town, not with intimidation, but with protection. The little girl sat on Jackson's bike, holding on to him like she had always belonged there. People stepped out of their houses watching the unlikely sight of a feared biker gang escorting a small child like she was their own. And maybe she was. Weeks passed and Jackson transformed everything. He found her a home. He built her a life. He became the father she never had but always needed. And through her, Lena's memory lived on, radiant, fearless, full of the kind of love that never truly dies. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this live because of you. Before the ending, please comment and tell us, would you trust a stranger if destiny brought them into your life this way?